Hi, Unfiltered Waters family. Today we have really exciting guest, our first coach that we have ever had on the podcast, and it is none other than the wonderful, humble, amazing Todd DeSorbo. Todd is the head coach at the University of Virginia, where they just won their fourth consecutive national title for the women's team, which is absolutely incredible and kind of mind-blowing when you really think about it. We have such a wonderful conversation with Todd today. We, of course, talk about that fourth consecutive win, what it's been like these past 4 years, having such an amazing team and staff. We talk about Todd's own journey and how he got into coaching, what his own background in swimming, growing up was like, how he decided he wanted to be a coach and what that looked like, his time at NC State before he was at Virginia, and so much more. Todd provides insight into what he's looking for in recruits. So, hey, if you're a swimmer looking to swim in college, this is absolutely the episode for you to listen to. So many wonderful thoughts from him on that. He has been an incredible national team coach over the years as well. So we talk about his experiences on the national team, from sending athletes to the Olympics in 2021, from being the head coach for the 2022 World Championships team, and being named the head coach of the women's team for this summer for the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris. So it was wonderful to talk to Todd. He truly is so humble, so down to earth, and just great to hear about so much of what he does as a coach, how he manages so many high-level elite athletes, things that are important to him on the pool deck when it comes to his athletes, and what truly makes a difference. And then we get to ask wonderful questions that you all sent in as well. So there's so many takeaways from this episode. I think it's really impactful, and especially getting so close to Olympic trials, it's the perfect time for it. So without further ado, please enjoy Coach Todd DeSorbo. We want to take a minute and shout out one of our very special sponsors, Little Words Project. As you guys are now well aware, we ask our guests at the end of every episode what their word is, what the word is that is motivating them, encouraging them, something that they're working towards. And we actually get to send each of our guests their own personalized Little Words Project bracelet to have as a wearable affirmation of what their word is as each of our guests is fighting for their incredible dreams.
These bracelets make incredible gifts, so whether you're looking to treat yourself or treat your loved ones, Missy and I wear ours, many of them, every single day. So go shopping at littlewordsproject.com.
As Olympians and elite athletes, Katie and I definitely understand the importance of sleep and recovery, but now just as a mom, as a professional, as podcast host, we still understand that sleep is so important. And we are incredibly thankful to one of our sponsors, Dream Recovery, for creating such incredible and impactful products that are science-backed to help you get the optimal night's sleep.
My favorite product is the Pink Dream Tape. I have not stopped wearing it since I put it on my mouth 6 months ago. It helps me fall asleep faster and gives me the best night's sleep I've ever had.
And for those of you that are a little hesitant about mouth taping, they just released mouth strips. So it's a little strip as opposed to the full tape. It has all the same benefits as a full piece of tape, but it's a little bit more of a segue for those who are a little bit nervous or are wanting to try out something. And I have been loving those.
So we've got a special code for you. It's code UNFILTERED for 30% off your order and 50% off your first month subscription of Dream Tape. Sweet dreams.
Good night.
All right, Todd DeSorbo, welcome to Unfiltered Waters. We're pumped to have you.
What's up? It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We are currently, when our listeners are listening to this podcast, we are 10 days out from Olympic trials. So how are you feeling? How's the team feeling? How's prep going?
Good. I think they're excited to rest.
Yes.
So, which I think is every swimmer's, dream is the taper,
Oh, yeah.
time where they can, sleep in a little bit. And, but, obviously it's been a long time coming, a lot of long preparation. And I think a lot of people think that, as a collegiate coach and the collegiate team, that we've only been focusing on trials for 3 months, right? From NCAAs in March until now. And it's not really that way, right? Like, we've been focusing on it since the beginning of the season back in August and September. So, I think people excited for the meet to get here, excited to race, excited to rest. It's been going really well. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that. I'm ready to get there too.
How do coaches, I actually have never asked a coach this before. Swimmers are pumped to be in taper. You have those taper jitters of like one day you feel great, one day you feel off. Do you have like a feeling of taper blues sometimes, or like a feeling of feeling off? Or is it just kind of like keeping everyone else feeling okay?
No, yeah, I mean, definitely not, because for us, it's like there's more to do than there was, because during the season, it's like, all right, pretty much everybody might be doing the same practice, but not everybody's going to taper the same way. Mm-hmm. So taper time it becomes like, it is chaotic. And there is like, you've got 6 different athletes and 6 different practices going on because they all need different things. And so there's just not a lot of time to feel anything or think anything other than, I spend more time writing practices during the last week or two of a season heading into a big competition than at any point in the year, because I'm like, not only am I thinking about what each individual needs, or however many different individuals, but also, each individual, like, all right, what do I need to do here for this individual today? And, you're on autopilot most of the season. You kind of know what you want to do. You get it done. You can kind of work them as hard as you want. You're not too worried about that. Whereas when it comes down to rest time, you're like, all right, I don't want to work them too hard. So you're like, you're thinking and thinking and thinking and overthinking, it all as well. And you're like, all right, I think this is it. I got a good one. And then, then you go to the next person, and then you go to practice and you got 10 different things going on. So it's, I don't necessarily know that there's ever a tape. I think the taper blues, it's the entire thing. I'd rather not have that time of year. It's the least, it's the least fun time of the year, I think, for coaches, from that perspective. But that they have a lot of energy, so you're feeding off their energy because they have more than they've had at any point. And it's fun. That they're excited. You can start sensing their excitement. You're kind of like, you need to bottle that energy. Let's not expend and waste too much energy. They have so much of it. They want to play. And you're like, no, don't, just wait. Just wait.
Almost there.
You hold it in. Well, and we've had multiple of your athletes on the podcast so far, which has been so fun. And the common theme between so many of them is what an amazing job you do at managing so much at one time. Like, you have multiple high caliber athletes that you have swimming for you all at the same time. You have professionals, you have the collegiate team. It's so much, especially going into a summer like this and an Olympic trials and an Olympics. And every single one of your athletes was just so complimentary of how you handle that, and how you as a coach and a person somehow are able to still know and understand what each individual needs and are able to give that to them to the best of your ability. How do you do that?
I tricked them all. They've all been tricked. I actually know, I know Gretchen came on with you guys and among others, but she's taught me the word gaslighting. She said it to me a year or two ago. I can't remember, in the middle of practice. And she was like, "You're gaslighting us." And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what that word is. How can I gaslight you when I don't know what that means?
What were you saying? Were you like, "Oh, you're not tired"? You're just not tired.
I mean, I guess I was just like convincing them that, like, you're good, let's go. I don't even remember what it was, but she was like, "You're totally gaslighting us right now." And I'm like, I had to look it up. I'm like, oh, I think I do that actually. So now I use it, I actually used it on her like a day or two ago. She said something and I'm like, I'm just gaslighting you right now. But yeah, I don't know. I think that, managing the athletes and, their confidence levels and their programs and all that, like, that stuff's fun. It's fun for me. It's a challenge. I think if this weren't challenging, then I don't think I would want to do it. I think challenges are fun. I want to have fun. I think challenges are fun. Finding solutions to the challenges are fun, and they're great. All the athletes, the guys and all the girls and our staff, they're just great people to be around. So it makes it easy for the most part for us to want to help them and support them and spend a lot of time focused on them. Like that's my job. I said this at our banquet a month or so ago. A lot of the kids will be like, "Hey, what do you do all day?" Like, they think that we come to practice in the morning and then we don't do anything all day, and then we come to practice in the afternoon. And I'm like, you may think it's nothing, but we literally are thinking about you. That's all we do is think about you.
That's your full-time job.
Yeah. Like that's our job. And we're constantly thinking about them. And I have a problem. I can't turn my brain off. So even like, till the second I go to sleep, I'm thinking about them. And usually like in those moments, and sometimes I have to like wake up in the middle of the night and jot a note down because I've been thinking about some random thing. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I'm the best at it. I don't know how good I am at any of that stuff. I'm just pretty fortunate to be surrounded by a bunch of great people who make me look probably way better than I actually am.
Oh, I don't know about that.
You saying that
exposed.
and having that humility tells me that you are.
Exactly.
People that say that they're, I'm the best at that, actually never are.
And it's not just your athletes that say that. It's so much. I wanted to congratulate you. You just got the USOPC Collegiate Coach of the Year award for the second time in the past 3 years. So congratulations on that. That is incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's cool. Appreciate it.
It's amazing. It's such an honor, and you are so deserving of it. And we wanted to talk a little bit, of course, about the last 4 years. I mean, the Virginia four-peat is going down in history. I mean, it is so legendary what you all have accomplished as a team, as a staff. And we wanted, of course, to go back to this most recent Natty Champs, that fourth win. Tell us what it meant to you as a coach and seeing what it meant to your athletes to get that fourth consecutive national championships under your belt.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's really special. I think when you become a national champion for the first time, you become part of a very select group of people, right? You become a part of an elite group of people. It's like, and both of you know this, it's like becoming an Olympian. You're like in this new league, you're in this new family, and it's really elite because very few people do it. And so when you win your first one, it's really special because even though the NCAA has been around for a long time, at least in our sport, not that many teams have actually won a national championship. There's only like 9 or 10. Which is pretty surprising. But there've been so many like dominant teams back in the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that just won a bunch of them. So there haven't been that many teams who actually have won. And then to do, not 2, 3, but 4, it's really cool because, and the coolest thing I think about it is and I said this to the girls before we even went to NCAAs, and we'll be able to say it again next year, which is great because it's something probably the most coolest. Like, just I don't even know what the word is for it, but what I said to them is there's nobody in the NCAA. There's no woman in the NCAA, no female athlete in the NCAA currently that has ever won a national championship in swimming and diving, except for you women sitting in this room here in our pool or the room that we were in or whatever, right? Because it's anybody else. The last time somebody else won was 2019. Wow. So nobody in the current NCAA has won other than our girls, and I think that's really cool. Yeah. But this one was, they're all really special. But this one I think outside of winning the first one ever, might have been more special than the others, just because, I think that there was a potential pretty big challenge in front of us as far as, people throwing challenges at us. And Texas was in particular, a great team that, I don't necessarily say I was worried about, because I don't worry about anybody but our own team. But I knew that they were going to challenge us probably more than we had been challenged in the past. Mm-hmm. And so to be able to go in and perform even more, under even more pressure than probably before, is pretty special because they really stepped up. And I can't remember if I shed a tear the first NCAA championship that we won. I probably did. But the last prelim session of women's NCAAs, I literally cried twice.
Are you normally an emotional guy?
No, no. I don't cry. I mean, I'm emotional as far as like I get amped up and I get emotional at meets and that kind of thing. But I'm not really. I don't think I'm very up and down. And definitely don't cry. But the last morning session, to me, the meet wasn't over yet. And maybe a lot of people outside were like, "Oh, the meet's over. It's done. Virginia wins." But like, you can collapse, right? In any sport, any team can collapse mid competition, right? Like you've seen it. You've seen basketball teams collapse and lose a 30-point lead, and football teams lose a 4 touchdown. Like it happens, right? Yeah. And so you never know until you're like, and I'm kind of like lean more the way of like, it's not over until it's over. Mm-hmm. But, that morning of prelims, we just had a really good morning. And the 200 breaststroke, we had, I think, 5 girls make it back, and, 3 in the A final, 2 in the B final. And it was like, okay, like it's not just one person doing their job. We just had 5 people do better than might have been expected. And then we had 2 200 butterflyers who weren't seated one wasn't seated to score at all. One was seated like 15th. Both made the top 8. And so in both of those, when both of those, the 200 breast and the 200 fly happened, I was like, not like I knew that at that point, then we had done what we needed to do to win the meet. And I wasn't necessarily emotional because of that. It was more like, holy cow, these women just did like, nothing was going to get in their way, and they did what they needed to do, if not more. And it was just so impressive and made me proud. And it was really cool.
Are you a big pre-session speech guy? Like I've heard you on like mic'd up. I've heard you get animated, but I'm just curious if like you are like a really serious, like intense, like epic movie style pre-session speech.
We don't do, not before prelims. We don't, just mainly because it's the morning and, like we're just, people are getting breakfast and stuff. I kind of let them do their own thing. We definitely do, a meeting before a final session. So I usually do, try to get them amped up, before that. We'll do meetings, real like quick meetings with relays before they go up to the blocks to get them amped up. I would say I've gone more and more away from that though. I've run out of things to say. I'm like,
y'all have heard this.
I'm gonna repeat the same thing I've said for the last 6 years now, and it still holds true. It might be old to you guys, but I do try to get them motivated and get them excited and have those pre-meet talks and speeches and stuff. But yeah, it's like I need somebody to take over.
You need more material.
Yeah, I do.
Well, alongside with the repetitive 6 years of pump up talks, what are some things that you do as a coach to instill that confidence in your athletes as they're going into a meet like a national championships or an Olympic trials?
Yeah, I think that confidence comes from their day-to-day practice habits. I try to get them to focus on that, right? Not the final outcome or what's going to happen on that particular day. I mean, certainly you've got to keep your composure and you have to actually perform in the moment, but the goal is to get them to the block confident and without any doubt. And it's not a confidence or a doubt that they're going to win or lose. It's confidence that you're going to perform, that you're ready to perform, and you've done everything that you can, right? And so if because like when you talk about the Olympics, for example, or Olympic trials, the difference between second and third could be very small, but also is very big. Yeah. The Olympic trials is the only meet in the world where second is as good as first, right? Yeah. It's the only meet in the world where you're just as happy getting second as you are first, but you're devastated to get third. You'd rather get fourth. But I want them to be able to walk away from that meet in particular, or any trials meet for that matter, content with whatever the outcome is. And the only way you can do that is if you did everything you could have done, right?
Yeah.
If you did everything you did preparation wise, and you did everything you did on race day, and you executed well, and you get third, and you go a best time, then you can't be mad. You just got beat, and more power to those people who outperformed you. and you can't control them. But so anyway, back to the question, we try to really, I think that from a coaching perspective, we set them up day to day to be successful, challenge them, certainly, but be successful. And sometimes that means we want you to fail, and be challenged and struggle a little bit, but that's the success of the day or whatever it is. But, the confidence, and I tell them that all the time, like confidence comes from your practice. And if you're practicing fast, you're going to race fast. If you're giving the effort I'm asking you to give, you're going to swim fast. If you, are just doing the things that we ask you to do, and we're going to let you know, like if you're not swimming fast enough in practice, I'm going to say you need to go faster, or or let's switch gears and do something else if you're not capable of going faster today, or whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's just about, finding the successes in every practice and allowing that to give you the confidence that you're going to be prepared.
Yeah.
And again, like I said, somebody could fail at a practice. You can still find success in that, right? I had an individual yesterday who I thought had a fantastic practice. And at the end of practice, I said, that was awesome. You kicked ass. And she was like, I died a little bit. And I'm like, well, you died because you pressed hard at the beginning, which is the best thing to do. I'd rather you do that than Sammy save up, so I'm like, so it's okay that you died. Like you crushed it. And helping them, because I don't know how you guys were. I imagine most people are this way, especially high achievers. If 2 minutes of a 2-hour practice doesn't go well, you dwell on that 2 minutes. You dwell on that one swim.
That doesn't sound familiar.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it drives me nuts when people do that. Like, I want to just shake them, and I'm like, you had one bad 50, and I wouldn't even call it bad. You had 150 where you struggled, and the other 49 50s were amazing. Like, don't dwell on the one.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah,
but
to your credit too, like that's what athletes like us need, is a coach that's going to remind us that. Like, it's the double-edged sword we talk about so much of we're so focused on being the best we can be that we do harbor on those little things. So it's incredible as a coach that you see that and understand it and recognize that sometimes we need to be told, like, hey, yeah, that's okay. Right. That one could have been better, good. But like, let's look at everything else you did that you can be proud of today.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to roll it back a little bit, because obviously being a leader, not only on a college team as well as, an Olympic team, comes from experience. It comes from perspective. So I know you swam, I know you played soccer, but I want to talk a little bit more about kind of your high school, college years and how that lent itself to then moving into coaching.
Okay. My high school years really go way back.
All right. Not just like, I feel like there's those years though are so formative in terms of like you being in a sport and learning skills from that. And then like, at what point then were you like, no, I want to be a coach now?
Yeah. It's funny. I actually got asked the same question the other day. In high school, there wasn't a point in high school, definitely that I thought I was going to ever be a coach, but I do, looking back, remember being on our high school team, in high school swimming. I grew up in North Carolina. High school swimming in North Carolina, it was like not huge, but not like people, we cared about it, but it wasn't like we didn't practice with our high school team or anything like that. But I just remember every dual meet being on the bus and sitting in the seat behind the coach, who I loved, didn't know hardly anything about swimming. And he handed me his clipboard every meet and said, here, make the lineup. Put you in whatever events you like, let's win the meet. So make the lineup for us to win the meet, because he didn't have a clue. and I did. But I loved doing that, and I was really good at it, and our team was good, and we won a high school state championship, which was fun. But, looking back, I look at that and I'm like, that should have been a little bit of foreshadowing, I guess. And then, college, I didn't think twice about it. I just, swam in college, had fun, enjoyed myself. I got my master's in accounting and worked for Deloitte for 6 years out of grad school. And I did tax. I started in corporate tax, did corporate tax returns, and then I got in this little consulting area, did tax consulting work, and it was, I don't know, I'm not going to say it was fun. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. But I the way I got into coaching, it's kind of a long story, so I'll try to make it a little bit short. I was like, I don't know, not 30 years old yet, and I was doing triathlons, and I was swimming at the local Y, and this was in Wilmington, North Carolina. My wife had gone back to grad school there, so we had moved there. I was still working for Deloitte doing the accounting, and so I was swimming, just training for triathlons, and a couple of triathletes were like, "Hey, you're a great swimmer. Would you coach our triathlon group one morning a week?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure, that'll be cool." So I started doing that once a week, and some of the triathletes were also masters swimmers. Are you guys still swimming?
Of course.
Y'all master swimmers?
I just started. I just registered with Masters this year.
You registered?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm an official Master
You gotta get on
swimmer. I know, Katie, we're getting there.
She's working on me.
Yeah.
Hey,
Everyone
y'all
on their own pace. There's no pressure, but when she's ready, we'll be here.
they have masters world records,
Yeah.
I know.
4 a.m. It's not too late. It's
That's
not too late.
I will never swim a 400 IM ever again in my life. Let that be clear and
smart.
stated.
That was smart. I was a 400 IMer too, and
Okay.
when I did masters, I never went above a 200, and even that was a stretch. But so anyway, a couple of the triathletes were master swimmers too, and they were like, "Oh, we love the way you coach. Will you coach our masters group 2 mornings a week?" And I was like, "Sure." So I go from coaching 1 morning a week to 3 mornings a week. And then the head age group coach of the Y team left, and the Y asked me to take over as the head coach. And I was like, "Yeah, sure." I don't know what I was thinking. Stupidest decision ever. I was working for Deloitte, and I don't know if you know anything about accounting and public accounting. You're working like
It's
60,
insane.
70, 80 hours a week. So I'm doing that. And I'm going to take over a club team and be the head coach and run practices. I don't know what I was thinking. And I don't really, to this day, really looking back how I did it. I hired a really good assistant coach, and maybe that's where I learned that you needed to have good people. Because I traveled a lot too. So I would leave and the assistant coach would run things. So anyway, I did that for an entire short course season from September to March. And at some point post March, in the spring, early summer, I was in the head coach at UNC Wilmington's office, head swim coach, who I swam there for a year. I transferred there for my senior year, so I knew him. And he was asking me what I was doing, and I was sitting there telling him the same story I'm telling you. I started coaching the triathlon group and the masters group, now the club team. And he was like, "God," he's like, "Man, you're nuts." And then he said, he was like, "Well, what do you really want to do?" And I was like, and in that moment, it hit me. I was like, "I think I want to be a college swim coach." And he was like, "Oh, well, that'd be great." He's like, "My assistant coach is retiring in 1 year, next summer. Job's yours if you want it." And I was like,
Wow.
I'm in. I didn't think twice. He didn't think twice about offering it to me, so I didn't think twice about taking it. But I did the Deloitte public accounting and the age group team for a whole nother year.
Oh my God.
It was brutal. And I don't know.
my.
Yeah. And my wife, I was married. We didn't have kids at the time, which I don't know how I would have done it wouldn't have been able to do it if we had kids. But
Well, even with
and
your
my
wife in school, that must have been so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was wild. Probably the wildest thing is when that next year was up, I quit Deloitte and started coaching the college team, and I took an over 50% pay cut.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And and my wife was like, "You sure about this?"
You must really love this.
Did we write
Yeah.
out a pro and con
Exactly.
list? Are we?
Exactly. I would have done it. I would have done it for free. I loved it. It was so fun. Anyway, that's the tale. The
Well, that's
tale
how
of
you know.
my.
I love that.
I
And
know.
also, can I go back to the high school thing did play a part?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. At the time, I didn't know that it did, but yeah, I definitely think it did.
That's amazing. So you were associate head coach at NC State and then have been at Virginia since 2017?
Right.
Okay. So a lot of the questions that we got from our audience, and we'll get into some more of those later, but a big piece of what we wanted to talk to you about today as well was the recruiting process. I think that's probably some of the questions I get asked the most for young athletes is about recruiting process and for those athletes that swim in college. So we would obviously love to get your opinion and take as head coach of a 4-peat national championship collegiate team. When you are going through the recruiting process, what are things that you look for as a coach in the athletes that are interested in the athletes and the people that are interested in coming to your school? What are qualities, maybe even things outside of just their times that you really look for that you know will bring value to your team and to your community?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's pretty simple, really. And this is what I try to instill in. I don't say this to our team, but like by way of culture and environment, try to instill this in our team members. And I also, and again, I am certainly not perfect, and I'm still trying to master these two things. But it's really two things. And so one is a hard worker, right? Like having a good work ethic or a great work ethic, because as I mentioned this, I think before we started recording, swimming is a hard sport, right? And you have to work hard at it though, if you want to get good. And, you've got to have an literally insane work ethic to do what we do. And we, as in what we used to do, all the three of us when we were swimmers and athletes, and what these kids do every day. You've got to have a work ethic. Because you don't play swimming. I said this earlier, right? Like, I'm not sure how hard you have to work to be a great soccer player. I mean, you've got to work hard at your skills and things like that, but working on skills is very different than working on skills and conditioning at the same time, right? It's the conditioning part that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But anyway, work ethic is, one, and then equally as important is just being a good person. Like I'm a firm believer that if you work really hard and you're a good person, good things are going to happen. I don't know what those good things are, and I can't predict those, but I can almost guarantee you good things are going to happen if you work really hard and you're a good person. There's no way they won't. Like there's no way.
Amen.
Like that is how you create luck. Right? Luck is like if somebody say, well, I got lucky. You didn't get lucky. You worked really hard and you're a good person. I mean, and that's how you create your own luck. And so we look for those things, because being a good person is going to help the culture of the team and the environment of the team and people supporting each other. And also like, that's the kind of person I want to be around, right? Like I want to have fun, and as a coach, and the day I'm not having fun, I'm getting out. But the reason why I have fun is because of the people that I'm surrounded by. So, having good people, does that make sense? Like good people. I mean, like that you're a good person, right? Like you treat people well, and hard workers, right? Like we all want to have people come in that I don't have many expectations other than, one, you treat your teammates well and you're positive. I don't even say that. You're not negative, right? It's hard to be positive all the time. I just don't want you to be negative. But you work really hard. And I tell people all the time, like the only expectation I have is that you meet my expectation on the level of effort I'm asking you to give at any point in a practice or in a week or whatever. If I ask you to go 100% max effort, you actually do that. If I ask you to go 80%, you do that. And I tell people all the time, if you just match my expectation from that perspective, you're going to swim really fast. If you start exceeding my expectation, that's when you'll break world records and become NCAA champions. But it's hard to exceed those expectations. It's hard to meet them. Yeah. But that, like our team does it. And I think that those types of people will come in willing to do that.
If you guys are anything like us, you are willing to try and do anything to make yourselves even 1/10 better in your races. Your equipment can be a huge part of elevating you to be your best, and we are so excited to tell you about the Magic 5. They make custom fit goggles from an app that scans your face to make you a pair of goggles that fits you uniquely and perfectly.
Like, what a cool concept. Katie and I have both been wearing these goggles anytime we get in the water because you know that we would never promote something to you all that we both haven't haven't tried and tested, and we absolutely love these. They have such a sleek look. They come with an anti-fog spray that is literally life-changing, and they have not leaked one time that we have worn them. They are so comfy because they are literally made to fit your face perfectly, and you can choose whatever color you want after you scan your face in the app and order your pair. We are so excited to be able to offer you a 20% discount on your very own pair of Magic 5 goggles. Just use the website www.themagic5/unfiltered to have your discount automatically applied. We know you guys will love these as much as we do. Yeah. But I love that too, that it's so focused on the effort. Like, I think that that's so important, is like, I'm asking you to do what you're capable of right now. So, you know, if I'm asking you to go 100% on these pace 50s or whatever it is on this race set, you know, the times may look different than they did 2 weeks ago. But if your effort is there and you are giving me 100%, like, I love that you have that really amazing big picture perspective of like, you trust in the effort and you know that that's really what's going to come in and pay off when it needs to.
Yeah. And they need to, right? Like we talked about this a few minutes ago. You know, somebody may say, well, that was a bad practice, because they're looking at what were their times. Like, well, I could only hold 104s today, but the other day I was holding 102s and 101s. And there's often times where I tell the team, like when I'm explaining a set, I'm like, we have an effort here called hard effort. And it's an effort, like, it's just something I made up basically. And it's probably around 200 speed or 200 pace. But I've made up this effort, imaginary effort level for sprinters, because I'm sure you've all heard of, well, you know, John Urbanchek, right? He just passed away. Like, God, the guy is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And he, you know, he's probably most well known from a training perspective for his colors, right? White, pink, red, blue, all that stuff. That stuff, I don't think anyway, is very necessary for sprinters, but because it's all based on effort, right? Like, hey, you know, red effort's threshold effort, you know, white's cruise, you know, blue is whatever. I kind of created hard effort for sprinters to know, like, this is the effort I want you to give. But I oftentimes tell them, you know, if we're doing something and I want them to go hard, I'm like, look, I just want you to go hard effort. That effort might get you a different time today. It might be a little faster than you might normally do. It might be a little slower. It doesn't matter as long as you're giving me that effort. And as the set goes, you might get slower because you're getting tired, but the effort doesn't change, right? Like, you're going to get different results out of the same effort levels day to day. Like, we might have doubled and you lifted weights today, or maybe you singled and you're a little bit more fresh, whatever. So we try to talk a lot about, like, you know what your hard effort time is. And on average, your effort should get you that time. Sometimes it's going to be faster. Sometimes it's going to be slower.
Yeah. That's also so empowering, because that's something you can actually control. Like, sometimes you just can't control. If the time's not there, it's not there. But the trust, I think both ways, it's the trust in the athlete in you that you're presenting a set that they know, okay, I can do this. If I just give hard effort, I can do this. And then vice versa, you're trusting, okay, I know even if you may be like way off today, you are giving that 100% effort. And I feel like that, to me, is when a coach and athlete relationship is harmonious, because that trust is just a two-way street.
Yeah. And we have, you know, and I have to trust them, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know. I don't have a,
we don't have like a percentage meter above our head when we're sitting. It's like,
And so, you know, if somebody says to me, you know, that wasn't a great practice, I'm like, well, was your effort there? Did you give the effort I asked? And if they say yeah, and so then it was fine.
Yeah.
You know, don't dwell on the times. You got out of it what you needed to get out of it. It's over. Let's forget about it. You know, like, doesn't matter. You know.
Yeah. I mean, something along with athlete-coach relationship that I've observed, I've been a part of, and I think the best of the best coaches do a really good job of it. And I actually don't know how you do a good job of it, because as athletes at the Olympics, at NCAAs, like, we're in control. Like, we dive off the blocks, we're in the race. Like, you have to stand there and watch it play out, which seems like it would be super maddening. But how do you, like, you're a human too, and you get nervous and you have these emotions. How do you control your emotions so they don't bleed over to the athlete, to your coaching staff, to fellow coaches? It seems like you have it down, but I'm guessing it's from practice and perspective.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely think it's from practice and perspective. You know, I don't know that that's natural, and maybe it's natural to some people, but very few people, and maybe it's natural to me. I don't know. I certainly, I don't know that I have to try, or maybe I just am not aware that I am trying if I am. But you know, I think that you do it we do it every day. You know, I mean, it's like, you know, I talk to my staff all the time. I'm like, you can't, and we try to tell this to the athletes too, right? Like, you got to check your emotions at the door, right? No matter what's happened during the day, now you're at the pool, now you're at practice, let's go get it. And nothing else at this point, nothing else matters, because you can't do anything about anything else in this moment anyway. So, you know, if you know, your dog died, and, you know, from a staff perspective, like, if my dog dies, like, I'm still going to come in to practice that day and smile and be like, let's go. No matter what. Right. So, like, I think it's definitely a practiced, skill. And so that type of thing bleeds over into, you know, not showing nervousness or anxiety or whatever it might be. Right. Cause I mean, the kids are going to obviously feed off of, and I call them kids, but they're adults. But I've more so started calling them kids as I've gotten older, because they're getting to be the same age as my kids. And I think of our whole team as my children, right? Like, they are my kids. But like, they're going to feed off of your emotions. So if I'm amped up, they're going to get amped up. If I'm, you know, being a bump on a log, then, you know, their energy is going to be lower, you know? So you definitely don't want to, like, you just try to stay as even as possible, especially going into a big competition like that. And, you know, I kind of, at a trials or an NCAAs, I usually would take a little bit more of a step back from an intensity and emotional perspective, and just, like, let them be and let them talk and let them come to me if they need something. Oftentimes during warm up, like in practice, I'm all over them and I'm constantly talking to them. I might be joking with them. I might be motivating them to go harder. I might be giving them technical advice.
Gaslighting.
I might be probably gaslighting them. But at a meet like that, I don't do that. You know, I think over coaching is the worst thing you can do in those moments. And, like, do your coaching at practice. At a meet, you know, during warm up, I will stand there and let them see me, but let them ask me if they need something. Like, I'm not going to be all over them. I'll watch. I'll probably time them to make sure they're doing what they need to be doing. And if I feel like they need to do something different, I'll go engage with them and tell them. But I kind of just sit back. Some of them want me right there, want me telling them exactly what to do, want me getting all their times. Some of them like that, and others don't necessarily. So I kind of just let them control those environments. And if they seem to be overly nervous or anxious or something, I'm not going to just let that go, right? I think as a coach, you got to realize, okay, I need to step in here, you know, and as a coach, you need to also realize, okay, I need to back off here.
Mm-hmm. And it's so funny because, as you said, looking at the team as your family and as your kids, that's incredible coaching advice, but that's also amazing parental advice too. Like, it works exactly both ways of, like, knowing the times when to really be there to help guide when they need more support, and also know the times where they can see you. They know you're there if you need them, but let them go and let them figure it out and let them learn that trust for themselves.
Yeah, I'm a significantly different coach now than I was 5 or even 10 years ago, because of my own children. I'm certainly way more patient. I can tell you that. But yeah, I mean, you learn a lot. You definitely learn a lot, and as a coach, and how to deal with people and young people, and times are changing in social media. And so I think that the best coaches out there understand that, realize that, adapt to that, change, and, you know, and move forward and try new things and make mistakes and learn from those mistakes and whatever, right? Like, I think you cannot be resistant to change. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's so important. A little bit of a follow-up there too, Todd, is, you know, it's a lot on you as well as a coach, managing all of this and, you know, managing your emotions for the sake of your staff and for your athletes. What do you do for yourself? I mean, we talked earlier too. I mean, you know, your mind is constantly spinning. You're waking up in the middle of the night, jotting down ideas. Like, are there ways that you've cultivated to kind of help you take a step back when you need to give yourself a little bit of space?
I mean, so On one hand, yes. And on another hand, no. And on the no side of things, I like it.
Yeah.
Like I love it. So constantly thinking about it, I don't, I'm not getting burnt out or, I mean, certainly like when I'm with my family, I try not to think about it and I try to put my phone on do not disturb and stuff like that. But outside of that time, I like it so much that I don't mind it. But I will say on the yes side of it, when I do some things to take my mind off it, I really love it. I really love being able to separate and have something to do that will take my mind off of it for a little bit. And it's probably good. Like probably it's like lifting weights, right? You can't lift weights like twice a day, every day. You'll never grow. Your muscles will never grow, right? So from a brain perspective, it's probably the same. It's the same thing, right? You got to give your brain a break so that it can think better and continue to grow. But like I work out. I think for me, that's something where I try to do at least 30 minutes to an hour every day where like I'm like my phone's still blowing up, but I'm not doing anything with work while I'm working out. And most recently I've never played golf. I mean, I have, but like I've dabbled in it. Like I can probably count on, I've probably played 10 rounds in my entire life. And that's over the last 20 years. So it's not like in the last year I've played 10 times. But I, like today, so I've got a lesson with our pro at our neighborhood, this afternoon at 3:00. And I've been doing that every Wednesday for the last, few weeks. And it's awesome because I'm thinking about that game and trying to get better at that and nothing else enters my mind. And so it's great.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's
So anytime you come to Nashville, let us know and Hazel be happy to take you out for 18 holes.
Terrible though. I'm terrible.
My husband's pretty terrible too, so he can round you out a little bit.
Talking crap. That'd be great.
Damn. You just called him out. I'm going to have to let it.
He won't. No, he's really good long drive. He can like long drive at like 415, but he has no like the hole and aiming. Not good. He would say that.
That was like me in soccer. I literally had zero care for where that ball was going. It would get to me and I would just Hail Mary that thing in any direction.
Oh my gosh.
Get rid of it. Get rid of it.
Well, do you want to head into rapid fire questions?
Let's go.
So we got some awesome questions from our audience, which was so fun. I loved this one, so I wanted to do it first. What was the most nervous you have ever been as a coach before a race or a meet?
Oh, I would say the most nervous I've ever been was at 2016 trials. And Ryan Held's the final of the men's 100 freestyle. Ryan Held's race because it was amazing his composure. Got through prelims and I knew he would get through prelims fine. Got through semifinals. I think he was seated for first or second going into the final. And right, the 100 free, you only have to get top 6. So like, all right, this is money. You're in the final. All you gotta do is beat 2 people. But like, when that's your first trials and all that's on the line, I mean, I don't know that I've ever been more nervous. I wasn't that nervous going into the meet, but I think you mentioned earlier about managing emotions. I don't get nervous until somebody steps on the blocks. And then that's kind of when I get nervous. Cause like you said, Katie, I have zero control at that point. I can't, it's all on you, the athlete or that particular athlete. And you certainly have confidence in them and their ability, but it's like, all right, you get nervous and the nervousness is just because you want them to do great, right? You've seen how hard they work. You want them to, see the fruits of their labor. But that was probably the most nervous I've ever been, because he was young. I was young. I mean, that was 8 years ago. And it was my second Olympic trials as a coach, but the first one was just kind of for fun.
Yeah. And especially with like a men's sprint event too. There's so much that can happen. It just amplifies the nerves times 10.
It's like Nathan Adrian and Caleb Dressel and like all these big names. And then there's little Ryan Held who was like not even in the top 1,000 as a 15-year-old of 15-year-olds in the 100 freestyle just, 4 years before. So anyway, yeah, you're like, oh, this kid has got no clue what he's getting into.
But I'm here with him for it.
Yeah.
All right, next one. You mentioned John Urbanchek, which obviously the swimming community and beyond knows he just passed. And one of his catchphrases that everyone knows is "move it" or "keep it moving." Do you feel like at this point in your career you have a catchphrase?
Oh, I probably have a lot of them. And I think that probably that'd be a better question to ask the swimmers because they hear it all the time. I would say, to paraphrase, LFG is probably a phrase.
Yes. We love that. We love that. All caps text LFG.
But I'm definitely saying all of it. I mean, that's probably the biggest one. And any different version of that. It's every time they're about to push off the wall to do something fast, I'm yelling something like that to like get them amped up and like, let's go.
Oh, I love that. Oh, so good. Okay. We've gone into this a lot, but we can elaborate on it a little bit more because this is a little bit more specific. But what is your why for coaching?
Oh man. I think that changes, I think it definitely has changed over time. My early on in my career when I was coaching at UNC Wilmington, I got invited. I actually was invited to one of my swimmers' weddings, but was in his wedding party. A guy and a girl, both on a team, both who I actually coached. They were both sprinters at UNCW. I coached them, and it was pretty quick because I coached them, and then like 2 years later they were getting married. So, but he asked me to be in the wedding and be in the wedding party, and I think in that was in that. And granted, that was early on in my coaching career. That was within the first 3 years of my college. I've been coaching college for 18 years. And that was within the first 3 years. And that in that moment, I was like, this is why I coach. Like I got not just invited to the wedding, but in the wedding party. Not that I want to be in, hey, all my swimmers, I want to be in your wedding party.
I was going to say, I will tell Alex and Gretchen that if you're not a bridesmaid one day, they're going to be a huge letdown.
Yeah, be careful what you're saying on here.
Time out. I'll do it. No, I just want to be invited. But like, I feel like, I think that if you're in people, they don't invite everybody to their wedding. They invite people they care about. They invite people that they love. They invite people that have had an influence in their lives. Right. So I feel like if you're getting invited to weddings, then like whoever that individual is had a really good experience. Like if they didn't have a good experience, they ain't inviting you to their wedding. Right. Yeah. So I feel like that is, people ask me like, what do I define as success? Like the same thing, right? Like that's what I define as success, because if they've had a really good experience, odds are they probably also performed well, because there's a lot of different components of having a good experience. But, just to have somebody who, feels the way, to be invited to a wedding means you're a great friend of theirs, or you're a mentor, or you had an influence, or whatever it might be. Like you get invited to a weddings for really good reasons. And so I think that's like building those relationships and being around, super talented, hardworking people, is fun, and helping them develop as people beyond athletes is probably why, amongst a lot of other things. But I think that's the biggest thing.
I love that answer. Yeah. I do feel like the wedding is a good marker, unless you're like having, just family. It is a good marker of like, okay, who are the people that have shaped me, have like shaped my heart. And so like, I mean, we didn't know each other that well. So Missy
I was not invited to Katie's wedding.
Okay, let me just clarify, because I knew the way you were looking at me that you were like, oh yeah, is that the case? So we reconnected, but I'm doing a 10-year reunion next year, and I'm inviting all the people that would have, if I had the chance to, would have invited them. So you'll obviously be at that one. So.
Katie was at my wedding. That's all I'll say about that.
Way later. Right. Okay.
The truth comes out. Where everybody's getting exposed today.
Everyone's in the hot
called
seat.
Out. All right, final question. This is from a swimmer. What advice you would have for a swimmer that felt like they maybe weren't good enough to be in the group?
What do you mean in the group?
Like in a training group, just felt like they weren't fast enough, they weren't good enough, they feel like they're kind of the bottom of the barrel, but like what would you want from them as the coach?
Yeah, I mean, I think that trust is what you want, right? I don't think any coach, whether it's a college coach or a club coach or a high school coach or whatever it might be, whatever level you're coaching, I don't think that a coach is I would hope anyway that a coach isn't going to put any athlete in a position that's not going to be, they're not going to be successful in, right? And at some point you've got to be at the bottom. Like you have to maybe there's very few people like you, like I was not an Olympian. I wasn't, I never made NCAAs. I mean, there's very few people like the two of you who are at that level and who were probably always at the top, right? And even the two of you might have been at the bottom at some point, when you were younger and you got put into a new group. And, so like you got to start somewhere and you got to trust your coach that they're putting you in a position where you're going to be successful. And again, you got to work really hard and you got to be a good person. Like I think there's my son, I learned a lot from him too. Just the other day, he shocked me. He's playing JV soccer. I mentioned this earlier. He swims as well on the local club team. He played JV soccer as a freshman this year in high school. And, the season was probably 80% done. 3/4 of the way through the season, I was picking him up from practice one day and he gets in the car and I'm like, hey, how was it? Are you enjoying it? He's like, oh yeah, it's great. And he's like, I want to be JV team captain next year. And I was like, he didn't say I want to score goals. He didn't say I want to be the starter. He didn't say he's doing those things though. But like he's like I want to be the JV team captain. And I'm like that. I was just like I didn't really say much, but I was like, man, that's awesome. So I think in that situation, like find if you feel like you're not able to contribute or if you feel like you're lagging behind. One, work really hard. Two, be a good person. You'll catch up and you'll grow and you'll move to the front. But try to focus on some other things where you can add value. Because for example, we have a college team with people who are going to be Olympic medalists and we have people who are walk-ons that may never make our conference championship team, but they're equally as important. They're equally a part of the team. They all have a role. They're all contributing, but the expectation is the same for everybody. We want everybody to carry themselves like they have the ability to be an Olympian, whether you do or you don't. And you can be a leader, you can be a captain, you can be, the positive vibe in the pool, whatever it might be. Just find your way of being able to contribute. Add as much value as you can. And, if you fuel other people in those ways, it's only going to help you too.
Yeah. Amen. Snaps to that. All right. We have 3 final questions, but I did think of one more I want to ask you before we get into those. What are you the most excited about being the women's head coach for the Olympic team this summer?
Oh man. I don't like being the head coach. I'm not sure being the head coach is always the best situation to be in.
Actually not. There's a lot riding on that.
Kind of like being the assistant coach. I learned that immediately when I became a head coach here at Virginia. When I was at NC State, and I have another story about NC State that involves you, Missy. I was an associate head coach, and so I wasn't the head coach. And as an assistant coach, you get to do all the things you love, and you have to do none of the things that you don't like. And so I don't know that there's a whole lot I'm excited about being the head coach, but I am excited about being on staff, and I am excited about empowering the assistant coaches to do a great job. And just like just being in Paris is going to be amazing. The Olympics is going to be amazing. I got to go to Tokyo, but there were no spectators because of COVID. So I'm really amped up to have. I didn't even get to stay in the village. The assistant coaches didn't get to stay in the village, so I'm excited for that experience. But I'm excited to I'm probably most excited to make a fool out of myself in front of the team and lighten their moods and keep them smiling and have a good time. And you guys know this, but and I learned this in 2016 because I got to go to the San Antonio domestic camp. This is when Ryan Held made it, right? And then I was a personal coach. I wasn't on staff, but they allow personal coaches to come to that first domestic camp and spend like a week. And it was like, I was like, holy cow. There's 52 athletes here, 26 men and 26 women. These are the best swimmers in the world because U.S. is, arguably the best country in the world at our sport. And it's like all the best in one pool, all the best coaches in one pool. And you're like, it's like the most amazing because it doesn't happen. But obviously once every 4 years. But I'm excited to be around that because it's so many like-minded, focused, committed people that it's like a brain trust, right? I'm just going to soak it all in. I want to learn from the other coaches. I want to learn from the other athletes. I'm excited to work with people that I don't obviously, get to work with day to day. It's just such a fun experience to be a part of from that perspective.
Yeah. Training camp is magical.
I know. Exactly like you said it. You're just looking around. You just, wow.
Yeah.
I want to do everything.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. So I got a story for you.
I know the NC State. Let's hear it. I want to hear it.
So you have no idea, but I don't remember what year it was when you were at Cal. What year in particular this was, but you were at Cal and it was the 400. I can't remember. It was either the 400 medley relay or the 400 free. Did you swim on the 400 medley relay? Do you remember? Did you anchor ever?
Honestly, I swam so many different things when I was at Cal. I
think it might have been the 400 free relay. Anyway, this is when I was at NC State, and it was probably, I don't know, when did you swim in college?
I was there, 13, 14, and 14 and 15 were my freshman and sophomore year.
So one of those, obviously one of those 2 years. And we were at NCAA's, don't remember where NCAA's was either of those years. But we were right next to you, NC State. We were in prelims, I believe. We were right next to you to Cal in the 400 free relay in prelims. And you were anchoring. And we had a girl, Krista Duffield, who was anchoring. And as soon as we found out the lineup, I was like, Krista, you're next to Missy Franklin.
She was probably so nervous.
Oh yeah. And I think we actually dove in ahead of you guys, and I was like, "Oh, this is the most amazing thing ever!" And of course, you ran her down and passed her and went right by her, but she swam the best she's ever swum.
I love that story.
And tried so hard and fought so hard, and I think because of that, our relay probably scored top 8 or something. It was amazing, but I just remember being like, "You're gonna probably poop yourself because of this." But also, like, this is really cool. You get to swim next to Missy Franklin.
Oh, my God. So sweet.
Were you so nervous of what the story was?
Always. You never know.
You're always like, what are you about to say?
It is unfiltered, so it's you never know. But I love that story. That's
I'll never forget it. It was just fun. It was, and you you were just doing your thing, right? But it was just great for where our program was at the time. I'd only been there. I started there in 2011, and our girls to that point were just kind of beginning to get good. And it was like probably the first time we had a relay score at NCAAs or that kind of thing. And I was like, dude, we've gone from non-existent to swimming next to Missy Franklin. This is pretty good.
Doing something right.
This is pretty good.
No, I love moments. We talk so much about how much we've appreciated our competition over the years and how thankful we are to have had people that have pushed us and made us the best versions of ourselves. So I love that was a piece of that. And I'm so proud of that relay for doing so well. All right, we'll get into our final 3 questions so we can get you to your golf lesson on time. I'm keenly aware of that. Don't worry. All right, so first question is, what is a moment within either your own sport of swimming career or your coaching career that has brought you the most amount of joy?
Oh, that's hard. There's so many. I think from a swimming, I was not very good. So there wasn't a whole lot of great, this was an awesome thing. My swimming career peaked when I was 10 years old.
Hey, you won a state championship. You broke an NAG with your club team on a relay. You did triathlons. You did great things.
Yeah. Oh boy. Well, when you get to when you see what the accomplishments of the people that I am fortunate enough to coach, then you're like, okay, I was a peon.
That's fair.
Perspective.
I don't know. I think, again, there's just been so many that I feel like if I name one thing, it diminishes so many other like unbelievable, phenomenal things. And, it's probably something from a coaching perspective, I feel like, my biggest accomplishments as a coach and for me personally are not national championships or records or coaching an Olympian or anything like that. It's like finding a way to help an individual get over some sort of challenging hump that they're struggling with. And you're like, I say this because it doesn't happen often because you work so hard at those kinds of things. But then I'll say this to my assistant coach sometimes. I'm like, that is my greatest accomplishment as a coach ever, right there. Getting this person to stop crying in practice and then go really fast and end up smiling, that's an accomplishment. Like, that's the biggest thing, that like, that those are the types of things that make you proud and, make you keep wanting to come back and make you keep doing it. Because that person probably is going to make an Olympic team because of that. But yeah, there's just so many of those kinds of things and, great accomplishments that these athletes have done. Like, I don't want to say, well, when this athlete did that, because I don't want to say anything about Gretchen because Alex will get mad. I don't want to say anything about Alex because Gretchen will get mad.
That's super fair. And an amazing answer too.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I love that. All right. So same question, a moment or memory that's brought you the most amount of joy, but just in your personal life, like you away from sport.
Oh, the birth of my children for sure. 100%. Especially, I would say, I don't want to make one child mad over the other, but especially my daughter. She's the younger one. And so my wife had to have a C-section, basically an emergency C-section for my son. So, but the reason why I would say my daughter is, and more so because of my wife, because she did it all natural without any, no drugs, no nothing. And that to me, I was like, I can't even imagine I can't imagine having a baby, period. I would take all the drugs. I would take everything, whatever. So Missy, I know you have one and like more power to every woman who's ever birthed a child. But I would say that moment it was like, it's, as birthing a child period is a very special thing, with husband and wife or, partners or whatever it might be. That is definitely the one thing that is biggest moment of my life, and a lot of that's because of my wife and how she really wanted to do that and she did it and she put her mind to it and did it. And it's like mind blowing.
That's so special.
You were all natural, weren't you?
I was. Yeah, I was the same. And I'm with you too. Every childbirth, no matter how it happens, is incredible and amazing. But no matter how you decide to do it, nothing can prepare you for that, for that moment. I mean,
even for me.
Yeah, for everyone involved.
Yeah.
Yep, and your life changes forever.
And that was my second one, and I was not prepared for what was happening at all.
Earmuffs over here. I was thinking that.
It's going to be great. It's like the 400 AM. The second you touch the wall, you totally forget the pain.
400 AM is 4.5 minutes.
Okay, so just multiply that. All right, our final question for you, Todd, is if you had to pick one or two words that encompass something that you're working on, something that motivates you, anything like that, what would those words be and why?
Two words, chaos and Miami. And am I supposed to expand on that?
Yes, you
definitely have to. I mean, chaos I kind of get, but Miami I do not understand.
Okay, so chaos because one, I like it. It means it means you're busy, right? And busy's fun to me. I would get bored if I wasn't busy. I do like some downtime a little bit, but I like organized chaos. And I think that like if you ever came to watch one of our practices, you would 100% understand that immediately, because it is, I think to somebody coming from the outside, it's like, holy God, what is going on here? This looks like chaos, but it's orchestrated, it's organized, and it's unreal. And I thrive on it. I think our team thrives on it. But I also, I live that way a little bit. There's a great saying, and I can't remember who I heard it from first or who said it first, but I stole it and I use it often. I like to fly the plane while I'm building it. And because you're like, to me, that's the only way to do it. And it drives some people crazy because it's like, oh, we got to go this way, but it's reactive to the situation that's in front of you and changing and constantly evolving, that kind of thing. And I think that challenge is fun. It does drive some people crazy because I have a hard time planning too far in advance. I just can't do it, because I feel like too many things are going to change. So why plan? And to me, I think you need to have a plan, but also understand that it may not go to plan. Yeah. And you may need to change that plan mid-flight. Yeah. Miami is my goal to ending my career.
I love that.
I want to retire in Miami. We have traditionally done a word of the year. So every New Year's we have a huge whiteboard up at our pool, and everybody writes their word on the whiteboard. And so we have, everybody's got the word of the year. And since 2021, Golden Goggles was in Miami after the Olympics in December of 21. So we went to Miami and in December, and it was like 80 degrees, sunny. And I'm like, this is where I want to live. And now we've gone back several times, and I've been working on my wife hardcore. And so anyway, my word of the year for the last few years, one year it was just Miami. This year it was, or I guess it still is, I can't remember exactly. I have to go look it up because it was a number, not a word. And it was the amount of days until I retire plus 305, which is the area code for Miami.
It's actually the two work well because most people are like, oh, I'm going to retire in Fort Lauderdale or Palm Beach but you like chaos, which goes with Miami.
Right.
So it
South
totally
Beach.
works.
I literally want to be on South Beach. I have become and people may say I'm bandwagon, whatever. It's not. I'm like all things pro sports Miami now. I just bought tickets to a Dolphins game in September. For my son and I, we're going to fly down.
Oh, that's so awesome.
So anyway, it's my motivation to, and I don't know, and I have no idea when that'll be, right? Like I'm not ready to retire next year or in 5 years, but I do know that sustaining this level of success is really hard. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of hard work, which I love, but it's a catch 20. What is it? 22 catch 20. What's this?
22.
Braden and I, when I was at NC State, Braden Holloway was the head coach, and he still is. We're great friends, and we used to tell each other all the time. NC State's men and their women were terrible when we first got there, and brought them on, and they got really good pretty quickly. And we were always like, it's going to get so much easier when we get good. It isn't. It's harder. It is harder. It's more work. It's harder. And part of that also is the, I don't want to say obligation. It's an honor to represent Team USA. And so, when I was in Tokyo for summer of 21, I was gone for 6 or 8 weeks, and then head coach at Worlds in Budapest in 22. So I'm gone for another 6 weeks. I took last summer off. I was like, I can't go. I cannot go. Because if I go last summer and then I go again in 24, that's 4 summers in a row. I'm literally gone, and I haven't seen anything that my kids do in the summer for 4 years. Mm-hmm. Anyway, my point is, you're like, you're just getting pulled in a million different directions, and USA Swimming is an added component to it, and you want to help. And again, it's an honor, and I'm proud to do it. But I don't know how Eddie Reese did it. does it. Like he's like 80 something and he's been doing this at this level for like 40 years. And I'm like, that I got 40 more years. There's no way. There's no way. I can't. I mean, maybe there is, but I don't know what Eddie was like 40 years ago, but Eddie now, and since I've known him for the last 10 or 15 years, it's pretty chill, pretty relaxed. Like I am not chill. There's no chill here. So maybe it's because I just can't like, all right, I don't know that I can sustain this level of energy for another 40 years. Maybe I can. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, that's Miami. It's my I dream about it. It's my motivation.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I
that is on our list too. I would love to have a place in Miami just to like go. Like I'm not thinking about retiring yet, but like maybe I'll stay down there because I love Miami too.
Well, you can come visit. I imagine I'll have more friends than I've ever had.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone's coming to visit.
Oh my gosh. Well, Todd, thank you so much. We were so honored to have you on as our first coach, and just so many insights, so many amazing stories shared. And it is very evident and clear why you have had the success that you've had and will continue to have. And you are just a phenomenal human being on top of being a phenomenal coach. So thank you for being on here, for sharing your stories with us today. We are so excited to see you at trials so soon. And we'll be in Paris too, which will be really fun. Nice. But thank you for your time. We are sending you guys all the best of luck as we head into these next couple weeks.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun. Appreciate it.